Most money advice makes you feel like you're failing because you buy takeout or don't budget perfectly. But the truth is, the real wealth killers are much bigger and harder to see. Stressing over tiny expenses while missing the big traps is what people mean when they say that you're stepping over dollars to pick up the pennies. So today, I'm going to share the biggest wealth killers so that you can stop focusing on the pennies and start protecting your future. One of the best examples of that metaphor, and the biggest thing that traditional advice and most financial data miss to emphasize or omit on purpose, is that it's not the lattes or your car that's draining your wealth. It's the one expense that's not even listed as a major spending category: taxes. So think about it. 50% of Americans are responsible for paying 97% of taxes and pay on average $27,000 a year. Bureau of Labor Statistics issues this report of biggest American spending category, and taxes is not even listed on this report. Instead, housing is here as the largest expense at $22,000. So if you're paying $27,000 a year in taxes for 40 years, you're paying approximately $1 million over your lifetime. But if you learn legal ways to reduce your taxes owed, even by as small as 15%, that 15% invested over your lifetime with an average 8% return will yield over $1 million. So the wealth killer number one is not your car, it's not your everyday coffee, it's not your Lululemon leggings, it's not knowing the strategies to minimize how much you pay in taxes legally so that you can keep more of your hard-earned money in your pocket. And you don't need to become a CPA or go to school to learn about taxes, but what you can do instead is actively seek knowledge in this topic and educate yourself in how to legally reduce the amount of your taxable income so that you owe less in taxes. You can look at tax-advantaged funds that allow your investments to grow tax-free, and look at tax breaks available to business owners. And if you aren't one, it may be time to start thinking about it, because that brings me to my wealth killer number two: relying only on one paycheck with no side income or backup plan. I've been a project manager in healthcare IT for 15 years, and if I can take one lesson across all the systems that I've implemented, it's that every primary system supporting a critical mission like someone's life needs to have a backup system or systems that can kick in when the primary fails. When you think about your income in that sense, your life is the critical mission that is supported by the money that you're paid by your employer. And if you lose your primary income, having that backup means that you wouldn't stop your mortgage payments, your kids' school payments, your contribution towards your retirement and healthcare and food and everything that ripples down from there. But if your income is the single point of failure without a fallback option, it makes life stressful and puts you in a very reactive mode should that source of income disappear. This can mean that you're accepting the first offer that comes your way just to keep the lights on, or pausing your investments, your savings, your debt repayment, and your dreams, which basically means that you're not prioritizing yourself and your long-term goals due to an external setback. You're letting people who depend on you down if you have to pull your kids out of school or if you need to pause contributions to their college funds. So if you take one thing from this video, what I want you to do between now and the rest of the year is figure out how to bring in $100 a month outside of your 9 to 5. You can scale that $100 later, so don't worry about going big, don't worry about starting a business. Just figure out how you can bring $100 a month using a couple of hours a week and the skills you already have so that you can have that backup plan should your income disappear. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel to help me get to my first 1,000 subscribers. It really will help me out. Wealth killer number 3 is staying too long in one job. I talked about this in one of my recent videos. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, workers who switch jobs earn about 7 to 10% more than those who stay put. Projected over a career, that difference adds up. On a $60,000 salary, staying loyal nets about $4.5 million over 40 years. If you're switching jobs every few years, that's closer to $7.6 million. That's over $3 million in opportunity cost just by staying in one place. And here's a couple of comments I received. So to clarify, I'm not talking about job hopping here with no strategy. I'm not talking about staying at a job for 2 months and then moving on. Instead, I'm talking about being strategic. Ideally, the next position you take on will either help you learn more or earn more, or ideally both. It will help you learn some additional skills or invest in your own education to make yourself be the candidate the companies want to hire. And ideally, switching jobs every 2 to 3 years will help you have skills in negotiating the offer that you believe you deserve. Wealth killer number 4 is lack of opportunity cash. If you're watching this video, you probably have interest in making money work for you. So I hope that I'm not off in assuming that you also have some ideas about what you'd like to do outside your 9 to 5 to make extra money, but things probably just haven't aligned yet for you to take that next step. So now imagine if you had extra $20,000, $30,000 in your high yield savings account outside of your emergency fund, outside your normal savings and investments, just in case cash. And now imagine if with that cash and with everything you know today, you find yourself in March of 2020 when the market crashed. You could have invested in the stock market at that time and grew your money considerably. You could have invested in real estate and benefited from the lowest mortgage rate possible during a housing market dip. These types of things are usually easier to act on in hindsight. Now imagine if you lost your job today. That just in case cash can be your business capital if you ever considered pulling the trigger and started a business. That extra cash would allow you not to jump at the first job opportunity, but take your time and intentionally decide what to do next, or stay your ground in negotiating the salary that you believe you deserve. If you don't have the opportunity cash and cling to every dollar in your savings, you miss those moments completely. Wealth killer number 5 is drifting without a plan. A lot of people have goals floating around in their head. Save more, start investing, maybe launch a side business one day. But until you write them down, they're just noise. The Dominican University ran a study that found people who actually wrote down their goals were 42% more likely to achieve them. Just a simple act of writing your goal in pen and paper makes you 42% more likely to achieve them. As a project manager, I know that the only way to achieve your goals or see your plan through is by saying this simple phrase: I want to do X by Y. The X here defines the scope of your goal, and the Y gives you the deadline that you're working towards. It then allows you to break it down into smaller pieces so that you can tackle one small bite at a time. When you drift without a plan, you end up reacting instead of moving forward with intention following the plan you have. Once you write down your goals and make a plan, have it somewhere visible where you can be reminded of it every day or even multiple times a day. This actually creates a bias in your brain and pushes you to focus on those actions to get after that goal. The next wealth killer is thinking in absolute dollars instead of percentages. When you think in absolute numbers, you get a $5,000 raise, and that sounds like a lot of money. But the reality is, if you make $70,000, that raise is only about 7%. And after inflation, your lifestyle creep, your taxes, that big raise is practically gone. A raise isn't real progress unless it changes your percentages, how much of your income you're able to save and invest. This is why wealthy people think in percentages and not just dollars. They focus on how much of each paycheck gets invested, not how big the paycheck looks. Let's say you invest $10,000 a year. That number sounds big regardless of how much you make. So in reality, if your salary is $50,000, that's 20% of your salary. If your salary is $150,000, $10,000 still sounds big, but it's only 6% of your salary. So if you think in dollars, every raise or investment feels like progress. But if you measure in percentages, you'll see exactly where you're actually stuck in place. Wealth killer number 7 is fees. There's the obvious ways, like buying the productivity apps that create the feeling of progress without actually changing our habits, or subscribing to something that we don't read, or paying a late credit card fee. But what most people don't see are the silent fees. It's the fees you pay in investing consistently. It usually happens because of misplaced trust, chasing after a fund that promises higher returns, or signing up with a flashy institution that spends more on marketing as opposed to lowering fees, or handing money off to someone else to manage because you don't believe in yourself enough to trust yourself to make the right decisions. And that is actually the worst offender of all, paying the 1% financial advisor fee on top of all your other fund fees. You not only lose money to layers of costs, but you also hand over control of your wealth to someone whose incentives may not align with yours. The next wealth killer is financial procrastination. It's the cost of later. Behavioral science calls this the intention action gap. We intend to act, but friction, busyness, the lack of clarity keeps us stuck in place. Most people know the basics. Open the Roth IRA, increase your 401k contributions, refinance high interest debt. The problem here isn't knowledge, it's delay. I'll do it next month turns into years lost. And in money, that gap is very punishing. Every year you wait to invest is a year of compounding gone forever. Every month you don't refinance, your interest is piling up. So I want you to close that gap by setting up your accounts, automating contributions, and tackling one decision that's in front of you, because it will pay off more than chasing a perfect strategy at a later time. Wealth killer number 9 is missing out on compounding magic. So let's put compounding into perspective, both for your own wealth and if you ever thought about having kids, or if you have kids, for your kids. So for yourself, if you start investing at 25, you're going at $5,000 a year. By 65, you'll have about $1 million. If you start at 45, to get to that same amount by 65, you'll have to invest $20,000 a year. So the later you start, the more you have to contribute each year to hit the same goal. And the cost of that 20-year delay is actually $200,000 of your own contributions. Now, if you don't have kids and don't plan on having kids, you can skip this section. But if you do, here's where you can truly see the difference. If you invest just $100 a month for the first 18 years of your child's life, it will yield $45,000 by age 18, with half of that number being growth from compounding and half from your own contributions. Then if you let it sit there at 8% annual return and don't make any additional contributions, by the time your kid is 65, they'll have $1 million. So it takes $22,000 of your own money and 65 years to make $1 million. But the truth is that million can be quickly eroded between inflation and taxes. So I know it looks really good on paper, but the key to this scenario is making it tax efficient so your child doesn't end up paying taxes on something you bought 60 years ago. If you want me to make a video on this topic, drop a comment and let me know below. All right, if you guys enjoyed this video, I think you'll like this one as well. And for now, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week.